Stuck. Joining us on the show is a renowned researcher of world economy, Mr. Roman Oseghale. He'll be speaking extensively with facts and practical approaches on how to save the naira from the current free fall. Welcome to the show, sir. It's good to have you on. Thank you. Recently, the former Deputy Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Professor Stanley Kingsley Moghalu, had said that the only way that we can save naira is if we can start producing. That Nigeria is not a productive economy. Therefore, it's impossible for us to save this naira. And this has really spurred a lot of conversation. And right now, the exchange rate is such that Nigerians are groaning and saying it's so difficult to get dollars. So in your view, what can we do to stop this free fall that we are seeing for the naira?
Thank you for having me on the show. First of all, the naira has been a currency caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. I'll explain. The naira records depreciation during economic growth and records depreciation during recession. Yes. It is only the rate of depreciation that differs. Yes. During economic growth, it is slower. And during recession, it is faster. The gap is wider. Now, you have a monolithic economy that crude oil accounts for 90% of your external earnings.
Not anymore, I'm told.
No, it still does. But over the years, right, the crude oil has been, the product is being phased out because of technology in most of the countries that buy the large quantities in the past. But right now, if you look at your balance of trade, contrary to public opinion that this whole thing just started, it started right from 2014 without people looking at the data. In 2014, we had a negative balance of trade of 1.8 billion US dollars. And as at 2020, it had increased. It had gotten to $32 billion. So you're talking about a negative balance of trade for 6 years in a row.
So that means we're not selling. We're not exporting.
No, it's not that you're not selling. Let me break it down, right? TVC pays you $500,000 a month, right? And your expenses is $600,000 in your household. So you have a budget deficit, right, of $100,000. So then you come to the work the next day, and your employer say, oh, they can't pay you $500,000 anymore, and they're not going to be paying you $250,000 because of the harsh economic times. But you're still giving birth, and your household expenditure has increased to $750,000. Do you understand? So over years, your net income has reduced while your expenditure keeps increasing. So you're recording trade deficit, and at the same time, you're recording budget deficit. And as your budget deficit gets wider, obviously your borrowings will get wider, and your debt will get wider, and you need more of this little revenue that you are earning to be servicing the debt. So that's where we found ourselves.
Why can't you therefore reduce your household members, I'm not killing anybody, but expenditure and reduce
until we decide to run government like a private business. The first thing that happens in a company when your revenue falls is that you cut down on either staff or your expenditure. You understand? FG has said, oh, they've been trying to reduce, cut down, right?
Yes, now NLC will carry placard, say that they're stacking.
So, but the major thing is this, right? Your export is your supply. Because as you export, you get the supply of your dollars. And your import is your demand. So at some point, the curve, if you understand the supply and demand curve very well, right? So the supply is going down and the demand is going up. And in a free market economy, that is what will dictate the price, supply and demand. The higher the demand, the lesser the supply, prices go up. The more the supply, the lesser the demand, prices fall.
Mr. Oseghale, please help me. This petrodollar, devil, whatever that we have gotten ourselves into, how do we get out of it? There are countries that are not part of OPEC, that are not part of this deal, that they sell their whatever natural resources that they have in their own currency. Why do we continue to sell
use the dollar
at another person's currency that weakens our own, as if we don't know?
60% of the world GDP is transacted in dollars. Yes. But you see, I don't know if you're going to...
How does it grow other economies? Why is it detrimental
because that's the world order. That is it was Richard Nixon that did that with the Saudis in 1972. You understand? That's the world order.
End of story.
So if you want to understand how we got to where we are, right?
Tell us, sir.
You need to go back to the 17th or 18th century. And that's why they say history is very important.
Very, very.
You need to go back to the Industrial Revolution to help you understand how Africa got to where it is. This problem is not just a Nigerian problem. It's an African problem. So I would say, go to slide 1. Let's just see. You will see that on slide 1, you find out that our Nigeria's export to the United States, right? In 2019, we exported 2.82 billion. Mineral fuels, oil, and distillation products accounted for 2.73 billion of it. That's 96.8%. Go to slide 2, please. You see that European Union, in 2019, we exported 25.7 billion. Mineral fuel, oil, and distillation products accounted for 24.52 billion. That's 95%. Go to the next slide, please. United Kingdom, in 2019, 1.16 billion we exported. Mineral fuel, oil, and distillation products accounted for 1.14 billion. 98.3. Germany, 75.8. France, 99.4. So China, 92.2. Canada, 99.6. India, 98.8.
So crude oil is
Brazil, 87.1. This is the same product that is being phased out
worldwide.
European Union is saying by 2035, that is another 14 years. We don't want fossil fuel cars on our road. Yet, we are fixated on this product.
How?
I think from the late 90s, the world has started preaching, alternative energy to fossil fuel because climate change. If we had people, if we had thinkers, if we had visionaries that would sit down and say, you know what, we need to diversify the economy and take a different route. We are supposed to have started planning this like 20 years ago.
Right? When they did the idea was to diversify and started the journey. So what happened?
We did not follow through. We did not follow through. So I'll take you back to the trade deficits, and that has been a consistent story for the past few years. And there's something I always preach when I take financial classes. I tell them, you should budget and try to reduce your expenses, but your first target should be to increase your income. So the biggest problem Nigeria has is that we haven't increased our income, and yet our expenses are increasing, and we cannot sustain it.
You need to.
So as it is right now, we've went through the budget during the paper review, and the budget keeps increasing. We are going to pay subsidy next year, unbudgeted for that. I don't know how to explain the mathematics that NNPC is going to do between NNPC and CBN to cover, not allocate, no allocation, no budget, and they will pay subsidy throughout 2022. Same thing happened in 2021. What do you think Nigeria can do in the short term to increase income? What is our short-term target that you would foresee?
The truth is, there is no shortcut to it. Say, anybody that wants a shortcut, I tell you, you're not ready yet. The Chinese people, if you're not ready to go through the pains of economic rebirth, and I will state it again, if we are all not ready to go through the pains of economic rebirth, when a woman, you're all women, there is no woman that goes into the labor room smiling. No. But once that child comes out, it becomes a bundle of joy. In fact, my mom used to say that women go into the labor room and they keep abusing and cursing their husbands for putting them. But you see...
let me go on a break. Because I like this economic rebirth. Because anytime the government tries to do it, NLC carries placard, you want to sack, you want to sack. These are the issues. We have this issue of this vicious cycle that we keep happening. Let's go and come back to discuss it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're still discussing about this free fall of the naira. And I'll come to you, BC, but there was something you said before the break about the economic rebirth. We must be willing to have that time where it's just draconian. Well, my worry is that each time we try to take those hard measures, the people will say, let the leaders start first. Let the leaders start first. The Labour will not carry placard. No, you cannot sack them. You cannot reduce cost of government because of this. How do we meet each other halfway? Please drink water.
Okay, now, go to slide 4. I'll explain that. Let's see slide 4, please. And we're going to compare Nigeria with Singapore. If you had watched any of... there's a particular video of Lee Kuan Yew when he was talking about how he transformed Singapore. Yeah. He said sometimes you have to break the rules or you bend the rules. You understand? Right now, in this phase, I think we need draconian rules. We need draconian policies. We need very hardline policies. We all have to suffer it. One of the policies which Lee Kuan Yew put down was that scarce resources will not be allocated for luxury goods. During Lee Kuan Yew's time, it was only meant for machineries and raw materials. You understand? Now, go back to slide 4, please. Today, in 2019, Singapore is 728 square kilometers.
Very small.
Now, just for you to be able to compare, Lekki Peninsula is 755 square kilometers. So Lekki Peninsula is bigger than Singapore. But yet, in 2019, Singapore exported $658.5 billion worth of goods and services. That same 2019, Sub-Saharan Africa, 46 countries, 23 million square kilometers, 1.1 billion people, only exported $429.2 billion worth of goods. Wow. Most of it, mineral resources. Now, that same 2019, Nigeria exported only 69.93 billion. Hey. You understand? Now, 200 million people. But guess what? It doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. Now, if you look at it, right, what is Singapore's export productivity per capita? It comes to over 100,000. That's about $115,000. But when you look at that of Nigeria, if 90% of that 69 billion is crude oil, so that is, we are not productive in that sector. It is even the ExxonMobil, the foreign companies. So when you now take the 10% that is left, it's about 6.9 billion divided by 200 to 201 million people. You only get 34 cents, like 34 kobo. So our export per capita is so low. We are very, very, very unproductive.
I love your maths, but it's just very depressing.
One of the things I wanted to ask, tackle Mariah when she's always saying Labour will carry placard once they want to take out these draconian laws. And you mentioned now that in Singapore, they said that their scarce resources will not be used for luxury goods.
Yes, ma'am.
So when the government says you're going to tighten your belt, they always focus on the people, the masses, to do the tightening first before themselves. But I wanted to even ask you, how do we diversify our economy? What are the options we have based on what we have?
Yeah, before I go into that, let me explain something to you about Singapore. When Lee Kuan Yew brought out that policy, everybody came together in agreement. You know what? To the point that if your neighbor sees you smoking foreign-made cigarettes, they branded you a traitor of the economy. Today, if you go to Singapore, if you steal or corruption, it's death penalty. If you carry drugs, it's death penalty. If you chew chewing gum or you spit on the road, there are draconian laws. Wow. You understand? If you want to get things done, you don't pat people on the back. You have to come out as a leader. Let them brand you, whatever name they want to brand you, but get the job done.
But democracy doesn't allow you to do that. Democracy, people
was Singapore not democracy? Is Rwanda not democracy?
Rwanda is making more. Please, let's talk about...
Can you answer the diversification?
Good.
The options we have, please.
We have a lot of options. Okay. But as I said earlier, you need to understand the strategies of industrialization. And to understand that, you need to go back to the 18th century when the first industrial revolution started, right? First industrial revolution was about mechanization. People moved away from the agrarian period, right? Introduced machines. And those machines, what did they do? They increased productivity, right? And as productivity increased, you could now leverage on what is called economies of scale, right? You drop your prices. Now, second industrial revolution came, combustion engine. Now, I'll give an example. Ford, in 1913, right, came out with Ford Model T. In that 1913, they were selling a Ford Model T for about, 1910. Ford Model T was selling for about $850 to $860. By 1913, when the assembly line came, but before then, they were assembling one car for 12 hours, manual labor. But when second industrial revolution came, and then standardization came, and they started the assembly line. In 1913, they introduced the assembly line. By 1917, they were now only assembling one car in 1 hour, 33 minutes. So they were saving 10 hours. Do you understand? They were saving 10 hours, 27 minutes. Now, you can imagine all the savings, right? So what did machines do? Machines increased efficiency. You understand? And by 1917, the Model T had fallen from $860 to $360.
They're making more.
No, because they were making more, but they were saving more time. Yes. Now, it cost them less, right? Efficiency. Yeah, right. Now, the third industrial revolution now came. They now introduced, it was about the internet and personal computers, right? Now, you and I could now go on the internet. In 1960, let's go to slide 8. In 1960, right, the global world economy was a combined 1.3 trillion. 1960 was about 10 years or 12 years after the third industrial revolution started, right? Now, I need you to understand this. Now, by 1990, right, the world economy had grown to 22.6 trillion. Yeah. 30 years. That period was the introduction of the mainframe computer. Companies were communicating with companies, right? Now, but from 1990 to 2019, global economy exploded to 87.7 trillion.
So how does that answer our question?
I'm coming back to that.
Times.
Yeah, I understand. I'm coming back to that. Now, in the next 29 years, global economy increased by about 65 or 67 trillion, right? You see the explosion. Right. Why? You see, Morayo and Company was no longer an Ikeja company. Became www.com. So what the Western world did, they drive their trade through three things: innovation, efficiency, and globalization. Okay. You understand? So they innovate. They use machines to drive efficiency, reduce price, just like what Ford did with the Model T, right? Now, imagine if you were competing against Ford
at that time,
and you did not have that kind of efficiency. He would knock you out of business, market, right? Now, this is what I want you to do. Remember I said that the naira is caught in between the devil and the deep blue sea, right? From 1990, everybody now started becoming a global company. It was easy. They gave us personal computers and then introduced us to the internet. And I could solve any company in the world, right? Remember that their own companies are now producing with maximum efficiency. And so I can now buy, and you can't compete anymore. So now, bringing me back to your question, we need to diversify. But that diversification needs to come with a draconian policy.
Close the borders.
Good. Now, you close the... Not just close the borders.
Yes. Okay.
The West built their economies on 3 factors. 1, protectionism, tariffs, and subsidies.
Okay.
You understand?
Tariffs, they'll carry placard that they want to take taxes.
You need to do it.
Other
than that, you cannot compete. So if you go back to your data. In 1999, everybody started having, internet address, right? Yeah. From 1999, 2000, we all started buying computers and stuff. If you go back, in 1999, dollar was 21 naira 89 kobo.
Yes.
By 2010, dollar had increased to 150 naira. That is 585% depreciation.
Right.
Yes. But guess what? Go to, that slide is on, if you go to slide 12, I think slide 12, it's on slide 12. But despite the fact that economy expanded from 59 billion in 1999 to 361 billion in 2010, but yet your dollar, right, gained against your naira.
Exactly.
And your economy grew at an average of 7.11% annually. So what happened?
Okay, sir.
You know, what happened is that as we make money, we all switch to luxury goods. You understand?
Yes.
We're not innovating.
We're not innovating, we're not producing. So even if you want to diversify now, government has got to put down some draconian policies.
So let's give examples of draconian.
So,
Stop wearing wigs, international wigs. Let's say it as it is. Stop buying champagne for parties. Let's stop drinking champagne. We cannot produce wine. Stop drinking wine. Stop focus on wine. Those are every single thing that we import. We should stop it.
Use Nigeria make cars. Nigeria make clothes.
We spend about 4 billion on imported fabrics and clothes every year. Another 8 billion on furniture importation. Right? If you go look at the
Which is where we lost. Because when under Obasanjo, we were able to block off furniture importation. There were a lot of policies that were blocked off that we have now backtracked and opened up. So I like what you said on protectionism. It doesn't feel comfortable. That's the pain. Because when you try to protect your economy and block off every form of anything that will weaken your economy, it will be uncomfortable for the citizens who are used to luxury. When you put tariffs on imported products, which is the second thing you said was ways Western will protect themselves. But for most of us, our entrepreneurs in Nigeria, we just tell you, give us power. Like the industrial revolution that took place required energy. Yeah. Give us power and we'll produce. Give us power because we spend so much money fueling the generator to sew clothes. We need power to run organizations. Factories need power. If we don't have power, it will cost us so much money to get things done and compete with the efficiency of developed countries.
Let me explain that. See, if you go through the first, second, third industrial revolutions, there are 4 main factors you will see. Innovation, government policy, availability of resource demand, and industrial infrastructures. Innovation is powered by research and development, then research and development through education, and then funding. Government policies, right? The same thing, you have to bring up policies. The first industrial revolution, what Britain did was that they immediately passed policies. They did not have enough people, enough skilled workers. They passed policies for immigrants to come in from Eastern Europe, you understand, to fill the factories. The second industrial revolution, the same thing, the US passed different policies, from land grabbing that they had to build railway to immigrants, about 25 million immigrants coming in 11 years, you understand, to fill the void. And then one of the key things they did in industrial infrastructures was that they started building railways. They had to look for ways to move goods cheaply, you understand. They dredged the canals in England so that bigger ships could get everywhere and deliver and pick up goods. So I understand. Those things are very critical. And the thing is this, those 4 critical success factors of industrialization, if one is missing, industrialization becomes unachievable.
They have to work together.
They have to work together. They have to sync. They have to sync. Other than that...
So is it a lost cause right now?
It's not a lost cause.
We cannot give up.
Let me explain something to you. The U.S., even as it is right now, the Western economies still protect their economies. Do you know that? I'll give an example. The dairy industry in the U.S., the dairy and beef industry in the U.S. government subsidizes it to the tune of $38 billion annually. But this is the good thing. The dairy industry alone employs 3 million people, pays out $159 billion in wages, right? And also, the economic impact of the dairy industry alone is over 600 billion. That is bigger than the whole economy of Nigeria. But you see, that money they get back in taxes. Now, the dairy industry alone, right, contributes in state and local taxes. They contribute about $24.5 billion annually. And then in federal taxes, they get back about $39.9 billion. Put those two figures together for the dairy industry alone, it's about 64.4 billion. So the first thing, it is achievable. But we just need to sit down, map out our strategies. And as I said earlier,
don't we already do the same thing? Our economic recovery plan we have every year, except for the part where we give poor people 5,000, we do all of that. Except for that, we did deliberate give, what I took this morning. In certain sector, in manufacturing sector, they budgeted a certain amount, a 5-year plan. They did all of that. And we have a new...
It's corruption. Corruption is now effective.
Our problem is that we have very inconsistent policies. Second, we are not... Say, follow the Asian model. This is what I tell people. Copy, standardization, and innovation. Those were the 3 steps the Asians took.
But there's a part of it that's citizens' responsibility also.
Yes.
For example, listen, I want this thing to be very, very... Everybody watching to understand what we are saying. We can say all these big numbers. Use another example. If you are tightening our belt, let us use our foreign things. Let me use champagne.
Okay.
I'm organizing a party.
And your budget.
And I'm seeing champagne. I'm thinking, Kilaju. What is going on here? Why do we need to drink this? I said, please remove this thing from my list. This was driving because it's just too expensive. Do you know one champagne bottle can cost 250,000 naira?
For what now? What are we drinking?
One champagne bottle.
So on Saturday, I was telling friends, I play football every Saturday morning, right? So after they put some drinks on the table, I don't drink, right? And I said, all these things should have been replaced by our local ogogoro. No, say, you see that ogogoro? We've been drinking since when?
Yes, now.
Now, we are supposed to have gone into serious research and development to make sure that drink meets up with the standard of imported ones.
Okay,
but we just sat back.
So let's just call this. There's something, I had this conversation. I read about the fact that green tea, one woman, her life research as a Japanese was to spend the entire life researching that green tea has more vitamin C than any fruit. And she removed the bitterness from green tea and gave the world green tea. It was Japan. So they drink this thing, they live longer, and then she spends the time doing the research. Is it that Africans are not just innovative?
We are not innovative.
They just call it,
we're not innovative. Go and look at your funding for innovation, research and development as a percentage of your GDP. You weep. You understand? Now,
we are not funding innovation, or we are not
funding
naturally.
Research and development. See, it's all about funding. To produce one drug, do you know how much it costs? It costs almost about $1 billion, and it takes almost about 10 years of intensive research to get one drug approved and put into the market. $1 billion. Just go into your Google. Google bitter leaf capsules. You are good. You and I have been eating bitter leaf, right?
We didn't do this innovation.
Since God knows when. But the white man has now come, seeing that these people eat bitter leaf. What is the nutritional benefit? They have discovered it. And now they are making it into capsules.
They will buy it.
And they will now rebuy it. Yes, look at your chocolate. Look at your cocoa. Right?
So Africa does not innovate.
We don't innovate. And that's the truth. And I don't know if you ever heard this. Innovate or what?
Die.
Or die. That's exactly what is going on now. If we do not innovate, we will die off. On Saturday, let me cap it up with this. On Saturday, I went into the local store. I wanted to buy tissue. I picked up a pack of 6, right? 6 tissues, locally made one. It cost 1,300. And then at the point of payment, I saw a rack, and I saw the foreign-made one. And it was a pack of 6 too, and it was 3,000. So I picked it up. I like to buy things, but I crunch my numbers. So I looked at it. And the guy said, oh, that one is costlier. I said, So, no, not just the weight. I looked at the size. I looked at the length. I looked at, it was double layer. The one I picked was single. So when I did all the calculation, the one of 1,003, right, is, sorry, the one of 3,000 is far cheaper because of the quantity packed into it. The one of 1,003, which is local, is a single layer. The one of 3,000 is double. So when I did my maths and the length, I paid for the 3,000.
You're not patriotic.
No, it is not that I am not patriotic. Listen, and I said something earlier, right? Why is it that when you import goods, they are cheaper?
Efficiency.
Efficiency. These people have mastered the trick. Innovate, efficiency, and globalization. They have mastered it that even when you now import goods,
that's
it is cheaper.
System and protectionism would
exactly,
work.
that's where I'm going to. We need draconian policies.
Yes.
Other than that, I'll tell you the truth. That naira is going to, that dollar is going to 1,000.
Let me take Europe says, why on the complaint? Una no say una no like Abamid. A business says Nigeria manufacturing has no innovation. Do you know products to be released in 5 years' time are already being tested in many foreign manufacturing companies? Temi says if the demand for adire increases, people would make it available in low cost that suits both suppliers and consumers.
That's what happens. So if we do adire, for example, now, so someone will now go to China and say, I do produce for me, and do not do
Please, let's go to slide 11. Go to slide 11. Let's just cap it up with this. Go to slide 11. So let everyone see what your net trade in goods and services, the deficit, right? You see, from 2014, contrary to the popular opinion, where they were saying, oh, the thing just started, blah, 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 blah. It started from the oil glut of 2014.
When we had plenty money.
Yeah, in 2014, we recorded $1.8 billion. And it's getting wider. As this thing gets wider, your dollars will become costlier.
Hey.
That is just it.
All right, that's a wrap up. Thank you very much. I think
innovation.
We've run out of time, but I think it's clear that we need to...
that we don't even know what we're doing.
I'm leaving this show very depressed right now.
No,
I just feel like,
we should just be innovative.
like there's still no clarity with leadership. Because we
There's
hear
no
of these economic review meetings.
Who are the big people?
And I'm thinking, what are they saying? What are they talking at these meetings? What are these committee meetings?
We need to follow the Asian model.
Full stop.
Copy, standardization, innovation. And then you introduce those three things. Protectionism.
Draconian laws.
Yes, your policies, draconian laws.
Please, when they are draconian, NLC will carry placard and say, please don't increase that tax.
Then we all die.
Order for 5% clinical to 7.5% VAT. They go carry placard. All of Nigeria.
Do you know how many people died? Do you know how many people died in China? Do you know that one-child policy?
That's all we can take on the show. Thank you so much, Mr. Oseghale.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you tomorrow.
It is well.
Tomorrow.